Hello and welcome to the Should You Buy for the Supernova, the destroyer of worlds. Man, they're coming up with ever so catchy titles for these things. I love it. We're going to go through the mech, we're going to look at its concept art and use that to hypothesize hitboxes and weapon placement. We're going to look at its stats and look at some conceptual builds I have mocked up in the sheet I have in front of me, my trusty pencil in hand, as I do some manual spreadsheet warrior with assistance from the online version as well, and just give an overall consensus of how the mech is going to run, what kind of things you're going to expect to see on it, and where it's going to fall into the overarching power of the game and if it's pay to win in any form. First off, let's just look at the concept art. I love the special paint job on this. So this is the this is the hero here with the red to blue. I'm gonna repaint that nicely, blue to black to blue with the Novacat speckles. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. But that looks so cool. It's got this sort of space nebula look to it along the arms and legs. I think it looks interesting. But we're going to move on for that because looks are only so much when the mech could be bad or good. We're going to go through, we got the standard pack, collector's pack. Again, this is very standard, how they always do it. You get the three standard variants, or you get the 3 standard variants and a bonus 1 variant, the number 1. So that'll be the one that we're looking at to see if the collector's version is beneficial. Mech bays, premium time, all that jazz, normal stuff, add-on $15 for the hero, and for reinforcements, the B and the C. So we're going to look at those and see if they're optimizations or pay to win or anything like that. Coming down here, early adopter rewards are not that big. Like, there's not anything big like the Marauder 2C that had an additional variant. That was like, you should probably get the early adopter awards if you're thinking about it, because there was a significant cost in C-bills as an additional assault with most likely an XL engine. And here it's some cockpit items, it's a pattern, it's a couple decals, and it's 6.5 mil C-bill. So you can wait on this if you wish to see if the mech will have any quirks, because it might, depending on the quality of the mech and how people perceive it. But we're coming down here, let's look at the mech specs. It is a 90-ton battle mech, and it is a battle mech. There's a thread on Reddit of how people are getting confused of, oh, it's clan, so therefore Omni. No, this is a battle mech. Very easy to figure it out. You can look at the FAQ, they say it directly in there, but you can also see that we have a max engine rating. So we have in the engine at 270, but we have a max rating at 325. So that tells you the engine can be changed, so therefore it has to be a battle mech. Also, this says hard points and not omnipod hard points, so there are ways you can know. Although it's not very well stated anywhere up here, it should say clan battle mech or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, it should say a little more easily on these pages whether or not it is an Omni or a battle mech. But moving on, it is a 90-ton battle mech with a max engine rating of 325, and this is going to push it to 60 something. We'll get into the numbers when we get to the spreadsheet warrior. And it's got max of 3 jump jets, and these are large class jump jets. They are 2 tons each. Interestingly, this is basically the exact same as the Highlander 2C. The Supernova is basically a reskinned, remodeled with different hardpoints Highlander 2C. So you can keep that in your mind. If you ever want to get a feel before this mech comes out of how it's going to move, whether it can make that jump or not, can it get up this this ridge, or can it jump into the Citadel on River City or something along those lines, get a Highlander 2C and test it, because it will have the exact same movement profile, most likely. But let's pop over to Spreadsheet Warrior, because I'm the Spreadsheet Warrior guy. We've got the Supernova here, 90 tons. We're going to go XL engines for everything, because they're clan XLs. You're going to do it. But we can see here that there is a great, not very fast mech With an XL325, we're only going to get a very max speed of 58.5 pre-tweak and 62.9 post-tweak. And it just gets worse as you go down. I just put them in there, a little bit of me moving things around there. I just put them in there to demonstrate what the different pod spaces and stuff will be, but I think basically the only choice is XL325. But where we actually get a choice, and how I'm going to do a little bit differently when I talk about the builds for this mech, is there's a concern is that you will have enough space in this mech. You're going to have all of the weight you want. Look at this. Pod space across the board, 45 and up. You have tons of pod space. There's absolutely no problem there. Where it's going to be a problem is the fact that the mech primarily has energy and missile hardpoints, except for the hero, which has ballistic. We'll get to that in the future. With primarily energy and primarily missiles, that's bad because an energy weapon has to take a bunch of extra space. You may think, well, energy weapons are really dense. They're really good for putting a lot of weight in a small amount of space, and that's true. But they require assistance to do that. They require double heat sinks. So they actually take up a lot more space comparatively to a similar damage output in a ballistic, because the ballistic generally makes way less heat and therefore doesn't need as many assistance items. Just needs a little bit of ammo and you're good. You don't need a plethora of double heat sinks. Because of that, if you put on both Endo and Pharaoh, you're going to run out of space way before you use up your tonnage. That's one of the main things here. So I actually think the best outfit for majority of the mechs is going to be XL325 with standard structure and standard armor to get these 45 slots here. And this is an approximation. It's about 45 slots. Maybe sometimes you're just going to go Endo and you're going to have standard armor. So you would do something like this. That could probably work for some builds, but still, it's going to be more for very specific builds or the hero when we get to it. But let's head back to the page. We're going to look through the different variants here, and they have kind of 3 archetypes between them, and we're going to look at those archetypes instead of the individual variants because there's a lot of repetition here. What we have is the first 3 are part of the basic package, with the first one being the one you could get in special if you get the collector's edition for an additional $20. The next 2 are the reinforcements, and the last one is the hero. Very standard way for them to put it out here. Everything has the same stock engine, everything has the same max rating. So I have used XL325 for all of these designs that I'm going to talk about coming up here. Alright, so to start off, we have the 1, and it has 4 energies in each arm for a total of 8. And let me see if I can just finesse this a little bit. Just barely. I can see the number still at the top there. But primarily, you don't need to look at the screen anymore. You just need to listen to me talk. So it has 4 energies in each arm, and it has stock for 3 ER large lasers in each arm. Way too hot of a build. Of course, you're going to want to strip that out. Some example builds for this, and this also applies to the 3, as it basically has just energy as well here, and the B and the C. Like, those 4 mechs have basically the same design, because 8 energy, 7 energy, 8 energy, 8 energy. So they're all basically the same mechs. They just have their hardpoints in different locations. So you can do all these same builds on all of those, and they'll all function nicely, and they'll all be able to do them. So 4 large pulse lasers, or 4 ER PPCs, 28 double heat sinks, a jump jet, and a targeting computer Mark 1. That's one of the builds. Or if you want to do more of a traditional laser VOM, 2 large pulse lasers, 4 medium pulse lasers, 28 double heat sinks, 3 jump jets, and a targeting computer Mark 1. Note, both of those have standard structure and standard armor. There's just, you need the space for those 28 double heat sinks. And you need the heat sinks because you're using 4 large pulse or 4 ERPPC, or 2 large pulse and 4 medium pulse. You also need to have medium pulse and not mediums because otherwise you run out of space and you still have tonnage left over. You need to sink that additional tonnage into the pulse version of the lasers instead of the normal versions of the lasers in order to get all of your tonnage into the mech and then fill it out with double heat sinks everywhere. Now there is some differences between these ones, the 1, the 3, the B, and the C. The 1, everything's in the arms. The 3, you have a couple in the center torso and the head. Maybe those head and center torsos are higher mounted. Maybe that is a problem. We'll look at that when we look back at the concept art up at the top in a minute here. The B has, again, in the arms, has the center torso, the head, so basically the B and the 3 are equivalent, so no problems with the B here in terms of being overpowered or having to pay extra in order to have a better mech. The C is a little annoying, maybe a little troublesome. It all depends on where the hardpoint locations are for these 2 energy, because it has it in both side torsos, 2 energy. If they are at like the very top of the mech, if they're on top, then the C would be the best laser bomb, because it would be able to have those crest of the ridge earlier, and that would be very important. If the C had those sort of mid or bottom of the torso, it basically won't be a problem. So that's just one consideration here. When you're going for laser bomb, the C is basically the best one if the placement of those are high. And so that's a little bit of pay to optimize with the reinforcement pack, but it's small. It's not that crazy. Next up is that basically covers the 3 of those mechs. The reinforcement 2, because they're the same basically, and the 2 starting ones, because they're all laser bomb. The next interesting one here is the Alpha, the A, as it has 2 energy in each arm and then 2 missile in each torso. Now we have 4 missile hardpoints. That means that we can actually start thinking of SRMs and LRM builds. If you just had 1 or 2, don't even think about it. It's just not enough synergy for your weapons in order to make it work, make it happen. So builds for it would include 4 Artemis 6s with 2 large pulse lasers, 5 tons of ammo, 24 double heat sinks, 2 jump jets, and so that gives you 500 rounds with your 4 Artemis 6s. Maybe you want to take off a DHS for another ton of ammo, but it all depends. This is, I believe, using up basically every slot, so not a lot of ability to say take off an ammo to put on another DHS, because literally you don't have any more space. But that's a pretty good build. Like 4 Artemis 6s on an assault. You have to get close. The mech's a little slow because it's only going to be able to go like just over 60, even after tweak, even with max engine. But 4 Artemis 6s, you got the 2 large pulse to hit it out at range. That's not a bad set of weapons. You could also do 4 Artemis 6s and 2 ERPPCs, because the ERPPC and large pulse are interchangeable. So it's decent. It's a brawler of some kind. It's an energy and missile brawler. But you can also do LRMs on this, and this fits perfectly, and this is our first one that has an upgrade. So this has endo structure on it. We have 4 Artemis LRM 15s, 2 large pulse lasers, 19 double heat sinks, a jump jet, clan active probe, and 7.5 tons of ammo for 1,350 rounds. Hey, I'm not much of a LRM player myself, but it works. If you want to play LRMs, this mech will be able to just crap out LRMs like crazy. With 4 Artemis 15s, it's kind of be like that. There's that awesome right now. I can't remember which variant it is, but that has 4 15s, and it has cooldown perks for the 15s. and that's what it runs. You basically kind of do that, but you also have 2 large pulse. Of course, it would get a little bit hot if you're using both, like the LRM-15s on, let's say, chainfire and the large pulse at long range. So you could probably just save the large pulse for those situations where a direct fire is more advantageous than a indirect fire. Say if the opponent's going to go out of contact really quickly, I'll just throw out the large pulse. But if they're out in the open field, you'll probably want to save those large pulse and just use the LRMs, because they're better damage per heat generated. But overall, good. It's the only one really that can do mass missile nicely, and it's part of the basic pack, so that's good. No problems there. And the last one here is the Broiler. Really nice name for a hero. Yeah, okay, this gets a little troublesome, because this is the only one of these with ballistic, and that's kinda sucky. You can do some really nice builds on it, but it's annoying because it's the hero. Because it is nice that it's the hero, in the sense that, I mean, I'm probably going to get the hero, and so that I want those 30% extra C-bills on a good mech. That's great, but it's problematic because in a vacuum of just the Supernovas, the Broiler is probably the best variant. And that's annoying. But I won't call it pay to win, because you can get a C-bill variant in the game that's not a Supernova. You can get a Kodiak 3 for C-bills, and that is blatantly better than the Supernova. The Kodiak 3 is at the top of the stack, the Supernova will be in the middle somewhere. So I'm not going to call it pay to win, but it's annoying and a little troublesome that there is the only ballistic variant is the hero. It's kind of like the misery with the Stalker. It's just kind of annoying. But we'll look at the builds that it can do. It can do dual ERPPC or dual large pulse if you wanted to change those out, and 2 Gauss rifles. Needs Endo and Pharaoh to do this. It has 15 double heat sinks, 2 jump jets, a targeting computer Mark 1, 6 tons of ammo for 60 shots, so 30 volleys with your 2 Gauss rifles. Not bad for ammo. I mean, it's the standard build. It's used on the Kodiak 3. It's used on a lot of it's used on the Direwolf, stuff like that. It's just, you're an assault mech. You can carry enough weapons. You can crap out that huge amount of damage if you feel like it. Also, we have 3 missile hardpoints on here, so we could do a little bit of splat because we have enough. We have 3 or more missile hardpoints. So I figured out that you are able to do 2 LBX 10s and 3 Artemis 6s. This needs just Endo, not Pharaoh. Has 18 double heat sinks, 2 jump jets. The LBX have 6 tons of ammo, which also, because 10s have 200 damage per ton potential, compared to 2s and 5s that have 150 damage per ton potential, and 20s who have 140 damage per ton potential. God, that's difficult to say. You actually don't need as many tons of ammo to take 2 10s to make them worthwhile. So 6 tons of ammo, more than enough for those 2 10s, and 3 Artemis 6s, we have 4 tons of ammo, more than enough to make them worthwhile, 400 rounds. And 2 jump jets, you can move around. It's going to be a good brawler in that sense. You're going to be able to go around a corner. You got the 20 from the 2 10s together, and you got that big smack of, what was that? I can't do math in my head. 18 SRMs. It's going to be good. So it's going to kick ass. That's what I think. The Broiler is going to be the best build, the best one to build with, because you can put Endo, you can put Pharaoh on it, you can do big ballistics. That's nice. Of course, there's going to be a ton of other builds you can do. You can probably do like a one-sided thing with like a huge 20 on the side and a whole bunch of SRMs and maybe some lasers and screw the other arm. I didn't play around with it all that crazy. I just made the few example builds here, but you can do that yourself. Remember, this is the exact same size, build rules, max engine, jump jet capacity as the Highlander 2C. So give it a try. But done from there, we're moving up and we're going to look at its design here. And we're going to look at possible hardpoint locations. So you can see in the arms that they're right there, obviously. They're below the cockpit. We can, like, the cockpit is on the very top of the mech. It's feels like a Nova, which I mean is appropriate. It's a Supernova. It's fairly flat on top. Kind of feels like the Marauder 2C in a bit. Has that same vibe to it. So arm weapons, you're going to need to move forward a little bit. You're going to have to get to this point here. You're going to have to pull out your entire torso in order to get your arm weapons on target. And it kind of sucks. But the real problem is where are those CT and head and side torso hardpoints going to be? Missile hardpoints are definitely going to be up top here, sort of in these flat spaces. That's where I predict that they would go. Center torso energy, I would see maybe in these little knobs down here. Maybe that's where they're going to go. Maybe they're going to go right here in the center, just below the nose. I don't see them going up top here. It doesn't look like there's anything for them to mount to. Side torso energy, I see going right in this little vent thing here. So side torso energy are going to be pretty high mounted. They'll be basically cockpit level. They could be down here. They could be in this flat place here, but they're basically going to be cockpit level. So that makes that Charlie here, the one with side torso energy, just that little bit more better, because those energies are going to be easier to peek with. And when it comes to hard points, the hitboxes, it looks okay. I mean, it's going to have a Clan XL engine, so you're going to be able to lose a side. You'll probably be able to dead side. It looks like this arm here is fairly beefy, and it's got a big shoulder, so you'll probably be able to tank with it nicely. So I think the mech will be fairly tanky. I also kind of expect it to get some quirks, because it's only as good as a Highlander 2C, basically. The Highlander 2C gets quirks. Some quirks. So then maybe this thing will get some quirks. And also, like I said earlier, the early adopter awards aren't that terribly great. There's nothing really like, you must have this sort of thing, like they used to do with a bunch of modules and stuff in there that made it much more worthwhile. So you might just want to wait till quirks come out. Overall, I think this mech is going to be middle of the road. I predict when G-Man 129 rates it on his Metamechs, it's going to be high tier 3. Maybe the hero will be higher than the other ones. Maybe the other ones will be low tier 3, mid tier 3, middle of the road. So all I can say is that if you like Clan Assault Battle Mechs, you may want it. The hero looks pretty nice, and it's going to be a good mech, but I can't like wholeheartedly say that this is like the best mech out there and will change the metagame. You just gotta, if you like it, get it, and if you want another mech to do something else with Clan Battle Mechs and Assaults, get a Kodiak, because Kodiaks are amazing. And that's the final thoughts. But thank you for watching another one of the Should You Buys. And as always, good hunting.